Performance marketing will never measure your reputation. So when you're growing, because the volume is so much and it's so loud, you need to make sure that you work on the three ingredients we're going to cover.
If the relationship with the client isn't there, they will still leave. Right?
Welcome to the Ethical Scaling Podcast, your guide to navigating online business with integrity. Join Jay and Ben on this epic journey. Whether you're a seasoned pro or new to the game, get ready for insights, strategies, and a dash of humor. So grab your favorite beverage, cozy up in your favorite spot, and get ready to deep dive into the art and science of ethical scaling. From client success to boosting lifetime value. Plus, learn how to turn clients into your best advocates. Ready to scale ethically? Let's dive in.
All right, welcome back to the Ethical Scaling Podcast. We are on season 2. This is episode 4. I'm Ben Littlebrain here with Jay Big Brain. We're going to bring you guys some more insights into all things client success. And, I'm just going to give a little plug. Nightjar. My friend's company is Nightjar Cannabis. So if you're in New Jersey, check them out, and soon coming to Connecticut. So anyway, just rocking that sweatshirt, keeping me warm this morning. And that's not.
I hope it keeps you high. I hope it keeps you high throughout the conversation as well.
Not high for this episode.
Let's underline that, not for this episode, but you guys will have to figure out in which episodes Ben was being really sponsored. Okay, cool. Let's dive in.
Yeah. So guys, today we're going to talk about 3 key steps to scaling an online business. And, Jay and I have worked with hundreds of businesses, even interacted with several hundred businesses. Like, we haven't had those as clients, but we've had conversations, given guidance. But we have worked with over 100 businesses in the online space in the last 4.5 years. And we see exactly what's needed to actually scale, right? And there's a difference between scaling and growing. Maybe you want to start there.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this multiple times. I'm going to just mention once again. I think we typically use the word scaling. I don't, but most people in our space use the word scaling incorrectly. They think scaling like going from 0 to 100. Yes, you might scale while going from 0 to 100, but typically what people do is they start growing. Growing means that you're going to do more to get more. So more inputs, more outputs. Scaling would mean efficiency. So you do the same inputs to get more outputs or less inputs to get the same outputs. That's efficiency in a nutshell, and that's scaling. Growth is part of the process for you to be able to scale. So I'm not saying that growth is bad. I just think it's important for you when you think about the terms you're using to understand that they're different. Like, you might be in a moment in your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner that you're growing your business. That's fine. But you're not scaling your business yet. Scaling will be the next phase. So we're going to talk about the 3 steps to basically scale your online business. And a little bit of what's important for you to scale is actually what we mentioned in episode 3. So I highly recommend you listening to episode 3, all things related to quality control, because that's how you're going to create effectiveness and then efficiency. And you will need effectiveness and efficiency in order for you to actually scale your business. So before you're ready to think about scaling, we need to think about the 3 moments in an entrepreneurial journey for a vertical when you're launching an offer. You first need to go through the startup stage. This is basically, you have an idea, you have an offer, think about launching a service. Maybe that's something you did a few months ago or a few years ago. I don't know your offer, but just bear with me and remember how it was when you started. You need to test product to market fit first. You need to understand if what you have to sell, people want to buy. And sometimes it's not the product itself, it's the way it is packaged. For us, we had great momentum when we started, but when we repackaged our offer without changing the delivery, we just repackaged the way we were positioning our offer, the momentum doubled. Why? Because people would resonate with the message and the packaging of the offer much better than before. Because before, we were labeling our offer as a vitamin. As soon as someone helped us repackage it as a painkiller, doing the same thing. We didn't change delivery, we didn't change our processes, but the way we position our offer to help to achieve product market fit was massive. And that's important before you grow.
Yeah. And I think one thing we see a lot in our industry is going with trends, right? Mm-hmm. And what I mean, we see these offers come and go. So this is something to be mindful of. It's like, use a Facebook group to get clients. Okay, cool. We saw, businesses thrive on that, and then they crashed and died. Why? Because it's a trend. It's not wrong to have those offers, but we're saying it because as an owner, I think it's really important that you think about, okay, my offer is a trend. So what are the principles I'm using, and how can I adapt over time when this trend dies out? How can we continue to be a sustainable business and refine our offer?
And I think a lot of those principles could be easy transferred to something else that will be a new trend if you understand them, because it's never going to be about the tactics. If your offer is about the tactics, whatever you're doing or whatever you're offering, it's going to be outdated in no time. Like what we do, I think one of the things I'm very proud of what we do, it's all about principles. And those principles were the same 40 years ago with different mediums, but they were the same. And I bet they will be very, very similar 10, 20 years from now. So when someone works with us, it's not that they need to change it like every month or every 6 months, because as soon as you have something built and you understand how it was built, you can pivot, you can tweak, but you don't need to rebuild it from zero. So when someone works with us, the return on the investment, it's massive, because it's something that we've seen and heard multiple times. When clients work with us for a year and then we see them a year later, the results are even better. Why? Because we gave them enough time and cycles of clients going through the new systems and processes to refine them, to make them better, and to actually see the results. So it's important for you to know, first of all, you need to have product market fit. You need to understand what you have to offer, what you have to sell, people want to buy within the price point or the range of prices you have in mind. After you do that, typically what people think is like, now I'm going to scale my business. No, now you're going to grow. Most people will basically add a lot of acquisition channels to get more clients in the door, and they think that they can get unlimited clients from the same vertical. The problem is when you're running ads, paid media, referrals, whatever you're doing, there is always going to be a law of diminishing returns. There will be a healthy medium of new clients you bring on a month where you can keep that pace for a while, and that will probably help you go from startup to growth, and then growth to actually scaling if you do the right things internally for client success. But there will be a point that you're going to hit maturity, and basically all your acquisition efforts are going to tank, and there will be a moment that actually you have to spend more to get clients. And people think, oh, so that's really a law of diminishing returns, because now I'm spending more and getting less. It means that I was doing better before. But if you go back to what you did before, it's not going to be the same as it was before, because now you have much more market exposure. So basically, while you're going through this growth stage, which is ideally when someone is working with us, it's in that growth stage, is that they have acquisition dialed in, they have product market fit, and then we can work together to make sure they can actually scale properly. Because during that growth, you have so much volume, so much noise, because you're running a lot of ads, you have a big team, you have a lot of clients coming through. Your reputation, it's going to precede you. And basically, your reputation is going to be hard to measure, but you're going to feel that your reputation is not great when you're not doing something correctly. And I just want to make sure you understand this. Performance marketing will never measure your reputation. So when you're growing, because the volume is so much and it's so loud, you need to make sure that you work on the 3 ingredients we're going to cover to make sure that your reputation is great. You're not churning clients. So the 3 ingredients in a nutshell are low to no churn, so you're not losing clients. High LTV, high lifetime value, meaning that we get clients to stay with us as long as possible. And again, there will be limitations. We'll go through it in a second. And referrals and word of mouth. Referrals, because that's bottom line revenue, no acquisition costs, new clients referred by other clients, great to work with, right clients, easy to close, super profitable. But word of mouth, it's often neglected as another part of adding bottom line revenue. When people see an ad, like that has happened to us, Ben, multiple times, and you do most of the sales calls, you know this. We run an ad, people see an ad, they think it's funny, they click on the landing page, they read it, they bounce back, they don't book a call. 2 days later, they go on our website and they book a call. And we think our ads are not working. No. They saw the ad, got their attention, then they had to read a little bit about us. They remembered they know us. They saw us somewhere. They heard one of our talks or something like that. And then they heard that the word of mouth said that we're really full of integrity. Like I was on a sales call yesterday myself, and he was like, if someone in this space I know has like full integrity and a great reputation, is the 2 of you. And I was like, dude, that means a lot to me, because I really value every single client we work with. And we're not perfect, but we know that if we stay in the game for long enough, and the only way for us to stay in the game long enough is through having a great reputation and taking care of our clients.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you mentioned those 3 points, which we're going to dive in. The first one, churn, right? Low to no churn. I just want to make this point because so many owners get this wrong, right? We'll ask an owner, hey, what's your churn? Oh, it's, 8%. Okay, what's your cash collected? Oh, it's 65% of contracted revenue. And it's like, wait a minute. So how do you get to 8% churn if you're only collecting 65% of the cash that you're contracted on, right? This is a massive gap in understanding. And we can, spend all kinds of time defining churn and what is it and all of that. But guys,
everyone has their own definition.
Yeah. Different industries look at it different ways. But if you're only collecting 65% of your contracted cash, think of your churn as being 35%, not 8%, just very simply, because you're missing out on 35% of that cash that you should be collecting. And that's a massive lever in your business. All right. So I just wanted to bring up that point because it's such a missing piece for so many owners.
Yeah, people need to understand, like, churn, for me, it's anyone who cancels, ask for a refund, or a delinquent payment. If someone didn't pay on time for more than 2 weeks, I'm going to give you 2 weeks as a benchmark, their client churn. And we've seen that multiple times. People, intentionally or not, they're going to cheat the system. So if your client success team can put clients on pause for 6 months so that you don't see those clients churning, they're going to do that. It's like, okay, I'm not churning clients. These clients are just paused. No, this client has been paused for 6 months. Their client churn. After 2 weeks, if they didn't pay and you don't have like a verbal commitment, they're going to be back in another 14 days. Their client churn. Just consider them churn, and then you can consider them a reactivation if they come on board later on. So how can you accomplish low churn over time? Well, it's very important to look at your journey, independently if you're in the startup stage or growth stage, understanding your activation points or touch points. Like, when are you reaching out to clients? And there are specific moments and specific touch points are going to be critical. Onboarding a client is one of the critical touch points. We need to make sure that the next interaction after a sale happens helps the clients to get a little bit of certainty from you or from your team. Like, they feel good about the process, they have clarity, they have the right expectations, they have the right timeline, they understand what effort is needed. Basically, we use those initial touch points to set the right expectations. But then there will be other touch points in the journey that are needed to make sure that the client is moving at the right pace. As an example, end of the first 30 days, it would be critical at least to have like some kind of a one-on-one interaction. Because in the first 30 days is when clients are gauging if this is worth it or not. So if you want to prevent churn, we want to make sure we interact with the client before the next payment comes through, so that the client doesn't have to overthink the payment. So there is an opportunity for you to re-engineer hope if you feel like your client is going hopeless because he's not seeing the results he has anticipated.
Yeah. And just one piece, I know there's more you're going to share about this, but guys, especially in this day and age, relationships are so vital to keeping churn low, right? So you can have the most amazing system with 100 activation points and quick time to value and quick time to result. But if the relationship with the client isn't there, they will still leave, right? They might not leave, they might not churn, but they won't renew, they won't send you referrals. So, in addition to activation points and TTV and TTR and expectation management, that relationship piece, you have to understand the client. We can't coach everyone the same way. We have to know what their archetype is. We have to communicate accordingly. And it has to feel like a personalized journey. We talked about that, right? Not customized, but personalized.
Yeah, it needs to feel tailored somehow so that they feel good about it. So you mentioned TTV and TTR. When you're thinking about touch points, we need to understand TTV is time to value. How long does it take for the client to see value from what they're paying? It's not necessarily a return on their investment. It's just them having at least an emotional breakthrough to make it worth it. Basically, when I think about TTV, it could be money, depending on your offer, or it could be as simple as the mindset changing from possible to probable. That's an example of TTV. When the client's mindset changes from this might work to this will work, I just don't know when, that's TTV. That's a great point to measure.
And one we see often early in the journey with our clients is like, man, you mentioned this, man, I'd love to serve clients the way that you guys do. You're responsive, you follow through. Like, that's TTV, especially early on in the journey, because that builds the trust and rapport.
And I think all those things will help you keep a very low churn. And the benefit of keeping low churn is that you're going to have more people crossing the finish line. Before you get enough people to cross the finish line, you're not going to get enough people that you can basically increase lifetime value. So it's important to keep that in mind. Also, which I don't want to go super deep into this topic, but something I want you to think about your marketing and sales. Because sometimes you can have the right activation points, the right touch points, the right expectation management, do all the things, measure TTV, measure TTR, but still your marketing and sales systems are not doing what they should be doing. They're not setting the right expectation. They're doing anything and saying anything just to get a sale. So sometimes you need to go back and do some quality control on your sales process to make sure that what is being sold to the right people and they're selling the right thing to the right people. So it's like the audience, the avatar, and the way the product is being positioned. Because if you're selling something that you cannot deliver, there is nothing we can do from a client success standpoint to help you massively with that. Because you're just, pardon me, you're just lying. Maybe not intentionally, but you're being delusional, thinking you can deliver that value. So the only thing for you to know if what you're promising is actually realistic, just go listen to the previous episode on quality control. Quality control will give you enough information to know if what you're selling is actually realistic, and will give you enough information to change. Like, literally no one is going to sell something perfect from the get-go. You'll need to go through all these iterations to just make it better. But that would be, in a nutshell, what I would focus on and what's the benefit of actually accomplishing low to no churn.
Yeah. All right. So number 2 now is high LTV, right?
So when we think about LTV, what's high LTV or how you can get LTV? Like, most people have a flagship offer. They have an offer, which is their main core offer, the one that they sell the most. I'm not saying that's the only offer you sell on the front end, but you have something that is front facing that typically clients buy. And that's going to be your flagship offer. From your flagship offer, if you want to increase high lifetime value and get more money and share of wallet from your clients, you need renewals, downsells, cross-sells, upsells. Anything that allows the client to keep connected and paying you will help you increase lifetime value for that client. But again, I'm going to be repetitive. This is only doable after enough people see value from the flagship offer. So if you don't get enough people to cross the finish line and thinking that their expectations were met, and like Ben was saying, that they felt seen and heard and supported, and there was a relationship that was built with that client over time, the odds of them staying with you for whatever you're going to sell them after are going to be very little. And there are 3 scenarios where we can see opportunities to increase lifetime value. Scenario 1, it's revenue expansion. It's like you have a value ladder and you have an ascension model. Basically, the clients buy the flagship offer, and then you can upsell them. You can get them into the next offer, and you can add them to the back end, which is probably pricier than the front end. So basically, what you have here, it's an opportunity to upsell your clients to something that is pricier, maybe a longer timeline and duration, and it's going to be more profitable for you. Multiple people in our space have like a front-end offer and a mastermind. That's an example of the value ladder, of the ascension ladder, if you want to call it like that. Scenario 2, which I think most people can just run with scenario 2, and a lot of them will just be successful enough, is the renewal. You have a renewal option, you have a flagship offer, they get to whatever result they wanted on the flagship offer, and the renewal, if you don't have an upsell, it's just a renewal. You're going to work with us for the same amount of time. Imagine it was 3 months. We renew for another 3 months, or you can put them on a retainer, whatever you prefer. And then we could just going to keep working on whatever comes next, the next constraint. And this works for B2C, B2B, B2W. If you guys don't know what B2W is B2wannabe. It's a BZOP. Renewals are actually good for BZOPs because renewals can be like low ticket, low support, and still keep clients on board, even just keeping them access to something. But if you do have a backend, people think, oh, if I have a backend, I'm just going to do the revenue expansion. Scenario 1, no, because not all your clients are going to be ready for an ascension. They're not going to be ready. Like, imagine what we've seen, probably 10, 15% might be ready for an ascension, but you have like 30, 35, 40% of your clients who are not ready yet to ascend to the backend offer, but they still love you. They still love what they've been through. So for them, you still use the renewal, but the renewal will be different. It will be a container / incubator to get them ready to want to join the backend offer. So basically, you do flagship or front end renewal for the next amount of time, and then when they're ready, you get them into the backend offer. And that's another way. Like, we immediately increase LTV because by the time they renew, you increase LTV. And then if they join the backend later on, amazing. If they don't, well, you did what you did. It worked. Maybe they're happy. Maybe they don't need the backend offer right away.
Yeah. And I think this it's another misstep. I won't call it a mistake, but a misstep that owners make is they think, oh, I'm going to create this, $30K back end offer and everyone's going to buy it. But what they don't do is take the time to look at the data and see, okay, who is this really appropriate for? Like you said, probably 10 to 15% of our clients. What is the next offer for the majority of our clients? Don't get wrapped up in a back-end mastermind and
double the time, double the price events.
Yeah, it's like that might be a good move, but usually it's not the first move or the second when we're talking about adding a secondary offer. So just look at your clients, look at the results they're getting, look at what they want and what they're asking for once they're done with the first offer, and create the next offer. Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
And that would be basically it. Like, then you can think about downsells. Again, I don't spend a lot of time working with our clients with downsells because most of the time the traction with downsells is very minimal. And I want to tell you why. If the client feels like they're being downsold, they're going to say no, because they would rather say no to a renewal than saying yes to a downsell. Like, who wants to be downsold? Immediately when you hear it's a downsell, you're going to think, so I'm going to pay and I'm going to get much less value. I would rather not pay. So there are ways that you can do downsells. As an example, you can have a smaller commitment just to keep them in a community. You can do like a monthly group thing with them. And it's just an opportunity for you to have an active paid list of buyers that were previous customers before that you can activate later on for, I don't know, crazy offers. There are like one-offs and you can monetize them even further. That's amazing. That's great, but wouldn't be the one that will probably give you the most or the biggest return on your investment. But then number 3, it's important to understand referrals and word of mouth. We need to understand that word of mouth is not something we can force our clients to do, but they will be doing it when you get people on the phone or people going through your sales process and telling them that the word of mouth is happening. What you can do, we talk about this a lot, is RGAs, revenue generating activities, which is basically if you have a team in place doing your delivery, they have to set projections every month for how many referrals, how many reviews, and how many testimonials they're going to get that month. Like a sales team would have projections for shows, calls, follow-ups, closes, whatever they're doing, renewals or upsells. If the sales team does that, having the same system and the same mentality just on the projection. I'm not saying that you need to treat your client success team the same way you treat your sales team because they're different, but the projection side of things is going to be critical. Hey, let's look at your roster. These are the numbers. This is what we're trying to accomplish this month. How many clients do you have in your roster? 50. Okay, cool. How many of them are green? 30. Out of those 30, how many of them have been a client for more than a month? 25. Out of those 25, you're going to get at least 5 to 7 RGAs, if not 10. So up to you, work on those clients, but you need to get at the end of the month a total of 7 between referrals, testimonials, online reviews. If you do that consistently for every single team member, you don't need to do a lot of crazy marketing because that thing will propagate by itself. It's going to propel by itself. You don't need to push it much harder than that. And I just want to bring that to your attention because there is no magic. There are a lot of tricks and things you can do for referrals. I'm going to have like a longer video talk about referrals. That video is going to be for later on. It's not going to be a podcast. It's going to be a YouTube video so you guys can check on YouTube when it's done. But basically, I just want you to understand it's going to be important to set those projections so that clients know that someone is going to be reaching out to them to get those things in place.
Sweet. All right. So the path to scaling, it's low to no churn. It's high LTV. It's referrals and word of mouth, right? Those are the 3 things. And guys, as we always try and suggest on here, pick one. Pick one to start with. Look at your churn. If you're a coaching program and your churn is more than 10%, start there. If you look at your LTV and it's 6K, okay, how can we get it to 10K? right? If you're getting 0 or 1 referral a month, how can you go from 0 to 1 or 1 to 2 on average? And those steps alone in each of those areas will create such a compounding effect. You can't even fathom it. Right.
The thing, I think you touched on it. I just want to highlight what you said. People think that everything has to be a hockey stick kind of growth. And it will. Through client success, through the things we talked about, it will, but it's not because you're forcing it. You just need to let it happen as a byproduct of the right efforts, like Ben was saying. I just want to highlight that because I've seen people doing it with brute force. It's not going to work. Your clients don't want you to deal with them with brute force. Yeah. They want you to be smart. They want you to be self-aware enough to understand the right timing, to ask for the right things that will actually lead to the outcomes we've discussed so far.
Yeah, awesome. Anything else you want to add in here?
I think it's enough for people to just go think about all the ideas we talked about and start implementing some of them, because that's the goal of our podcast, the one we do, the two of us. It's always topics coming from clients, from the trenches. So you guys probably listen to them as like, oh, you know my business. You know what I'm going through. Yeah, because we work with clients. We're not the chairman and the CEO that we're sitting in our office and we don't interact with clients. No, we're in the trenches. I love being in the trenches, maybe too much. You don't need to follow what I'm doing. But I'm still very much in the trenches. I love doing client-facing work. And I hear a lot of these things that I just want to make sure if you listen to the podcast, you're able to go and implement something right away. Because even if you just implement one small thing for every episode you listen to, your business is going to be totally different in a short period of time. And I think just giving people something to look forward to. Ben, do you want to share a little bit of what we're going to cover on episode 5?
Yeah. So next time we're going to dive into expectation management and tough conversations. And, again, we often say like, oh, this is a big lever. Expectation management and tough conversations. Your client success team, when they master these, you're going to scale. Mm-hmm. You're going to scale. Even if it's just those two things that they're doing really well, it's so huge, right? So
and it's great leadership. Your clients will love the type of leadership that they feel from your team when your team is able to embody these two. But I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to save it for later. No spoiler alert here. We're going to save it for next episode, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ethical Scaling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights and laughter. If you enjoyed today's show, spread the love, leave us a review, and share this podcast with fellow business enthusiasts. And let's create a ripple effect of ethical growth together. Until next time, keep scaling ethically, dreaming big, and finding joy in the journey. Now, Jay and Ben are signing off. Cheers.